Good morning and welcome everyone to the Grangemouth Community Education Centre to this special council meeting, Thursday 27th of November, and welcome to those joining online. The agenda was issued on Wednesday 12th of November. Hard copies were made available for any member who required one. The meeting has been live streamed and recorded. A video recording will be posted online shortly after the meeting on the council's YouTube channel. I want to remind members of the need to behave in a respectful manner to each other and to officers, and I take this opportunity to remind members all members should be heard without interruption. To support members hearing online, I ask that members in the room speak directly into their microphone and keep it close to their mouth. If members in the room wish to speak, I ask that they indicate this to officers in democratic services who will note this rather than put the light on to avoid any microphone issues. Members joining remotely should ensure that the cameras are turned on during the proceedings. Before we start, can all members ensure that your mobile phone is switched off or on silent during the meeting? Agenda item 1, Mr. Moody will take the head.
Provost Bissett.
Present.
With apologies from Deputy Provost Balfour. Councillor Aitchison.
Here.
Councillor Aitken.
Here.
Councillor Anslow. Councillor Binney.
Present.
Councillor Bowes.
Present.
Apologies from Bailey Buchanan. Councillor Bundy. Councillor Colley.
Present.
Councillor Deacon.
Present.
Councillor Devine.
Present.
Councillor Flynn.
Present.
Councillor Forrest.
Present.
Councillor Garner.
Here.
Councillor Hannah.
Present.
Councillor Kelly.
Present.
Bailey Kerr.
Present.
Councillor McCabe.
Present.
Councillor Mackie Brown. Councillor Meiklejohn.
Present.
Councillor Murtagh.
And shot.
Councillor Nimmo. Councillor Patterson.
Present.
Councillor Redmond.
Present.
Apologies, I should have said apologies have been received from Councillor Patrick. Councillor Ritchie.
Present.
Apologies from Councillor Robertson. Councillor Sinclair.
Here.
Councillor Spears.
Present. Thanks, Mr. Moody. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Any member have any declaration of interest on any item on the agenda? No. Agenda item 3, rolling action log, and we'll go to Mr. Moody for that. It's pages 2 to 10 in your agenda papers.
Thank you, Provost. The rolling action log provides information on those decisions of Council where their further report has been called for. The rolling action log appears to be up to date. It is available for members' questions.
Any questions? Councillor Devine.
Hi there, Provost. So I just wanted to get a wee update on the motion that was passed for violence against women and girls, given that we have just launched the 16 days of action. I just wonder if we can have a wee update. Thanks, Provost.
Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Provost. And yes, I think the expected reporting date, as indicated in the rolling action log, is the 29th of January 2026. I know that the work is underway on the report alongside the extensive work which is underway on the programme for the 16 days of activism. And I think if members haven't seen the programme, it's well worth having a look at. It's a very wide range of activities which are taking place, coordinated by the lead officer in Falkirk Council. So she is hard at work in relation to the report, along with all that work that's going on in the 16 days.
Councillor Spears. Councillor Devine.
I just want to extend my thanks to the officers and to lead officer Sarah for all the hard work that she's put in to pull together the programme for the 16 days of actions. And I would encourage all members to attend these events, get involved, speak to your local communities. and stand up and be proud. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Devine. Councillor Spears. Councillor Spears.
Thank you. Page 6, the Falkirk Council officers provide a report to a future council meeting of how actions developed by the council to support and deliver a plan are incorporated in the council's strategies and planning, particularly as they relate to education, housing and reducing poverty. Do we have a date when we'll get that report?
Mr. Moody.
The expected reporting date is noted as the 25th of June next year, 2026. The report is from the Chief Officer of the Health and Social Care Partnership. I don't know if this book wants to add anything to that.
Nothing else to add at the moment, thank you.
If there's no other questions, agenda item 4, transformation through collaboration, and there's been no amendments submitted, so there'll be no debate. We'll go to questions to the officers after Mr. Laurie has given a brief overview of the report. Thank you. Mr. Laurie.
Thank you, Provost. A very good morning to all. This paper updates Council on the work we've undertaken to explore collaborative transformation opportunities with Clackmannanshire Council. Our intention to take forward this work was first set out in the budget report in March of this year, and it has the potential to play an important part in addressing our financial sustainability challenge and the 43.9 million budget gap that we face over the coming 5 years, as set out in the financial strategy in October. It builds on the direction of travel set out in the Council's agreed target operating model. And the scale of the financial gap in both the Council and the IJB means that the pace and depth of our transformation work must increase, and the joint work with Clackmannanshire sits firmly within that context. The paper sets out an update on the discovery work, which we did with Clackmannanshire Council and supported by PwC. The report summarising PwC's work is attached as Appendix 1 to the Council paper. This discovery phase has been focused on identifying those areas where there are potentially greatest benefits in working more collaboratively with other partners. Officers have reviewed the outputs of this work, and the Council paper sets out the officer recommendations on taking forward a tranche 1 stage of work in several service delivery areas. The specific areas proposed are detailed in Table 1 on page 21 of the agenda. These proposals are classified into 3 categories. Those that we take forward initially between just Falkirk and Clackmannanshire, those we propose to take forward on a regional or what we call a regional plus basis, where we believe there is a potentially greater benefit of looking at alternative delivery models working with other councils and or partners to maximise the potential economies of scale. And those which we categorise as once for Scotland, where we believe that there is a potentially greater benefit in looking at arrangements across the country, albeit that might come in phases and stages. Should Council agree to the proposal set out in the report, the next phase of work will enable a deeper dive into these functions, with the aim of developing solid business cases for integration, or conversely, making recommendations to amend or halt the work. The paper also details the significant parallel work streams around governance, financial due diligence, legal, workforce considerations, all of which are required to support the potential level of transformational change proposed. Additionally, there is a significant emphasis placed on the priority that will be afforded to stakeholder communications and engagement, including with employees and trade unions. To assist both councils with taking forward this work, a joint bid was submitted to the Scottish Government's Invest to Save Fund, and we have been offered £2 million towards the cost of taking this work forward. Subject to Council's approval, this offer would be accepted and an officer programme board established to draw up the details of the programme, including timelines, lead officers, and resource allocation. What you're being asked to approve today is about design and exploration of the next phase. It's not about implementation. And progressing to the next phase does not commit the Council to a different model of service delivery. The goal is to protect services and improve our long-term sustainability, and specifically to address the issues around about our financial sustainability. There will be regular updates on progress to elected members in advance of any formal reports being brought back to Council for decision. And I'm happy to take any questions, Provost, along with colleagues who have worked on this. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Laurie. I'll now open it up for questions. Councillor Spears.
Thank you. Is there anybody here today from Clackmannan Council to let us know how they feel about it?
Thank you. The Clackmannanshire Council are having a meeting in parallel with this one. So the two council meetings have been held simultaneously, which I think is appropriate. And we will learn what Clackmannanshire think on the back of their decision today.
I know at present, especially on pensions and some other stuff, we work very closely with neighbouring councils. But we hear on the news, especially in England, about the amalgamation of councils. Do you think this is a slippery slope for the Scottish Government amalgamating our council?
I don't think that, because this is a process that we are in control of. There's no obligation attached to the 2 million funding from Scottish Government. It is a grant, it's not a loan, there's no need for us to pay that back. I mean, I think there is absolutely no doubt, Councillor Spears, in the context of the wider public sector reform piece, there is probably a degree of hope and perhaps some expectation at the Scottish Government level that collaboration between councils and, between councils and also between councils and other public bodies will increase over the coming years. And I think it's difficult to see a route through the scale of the financial challenge we face without this becoming something which is much more prevalent across Scotland. But there is absolutely no indication, and certainly no indication in the public sector reform strategy published by the government earlier this year, that there will be any enforced mergers, if you might call them that, amongst local authorities.
I know the public, especially in Grangemouth, have never really accepted being taken over by Falkirk at the last reorganisation from borough councils to district councils. I would imagine that the people of Clackmannan and the wee county will be very concerned that this could be the case.
Thanks, Councillor Spears. Councillor Meiklejohn.
Thanks, Provost. I have 4 questions, but I'll try and keep them fairly brief because I appreciate that others will want to come in. I'll maybe ask them 2 at a time, and that maybe allows the responses to be linked. Just a wee bit about who might our other partners be, because we spoke about local authorities and other partners. Who might those be, and how were tranche 1 of the areas to be explored agreed with our colleagues in Clackmannan?
Sir Laurie.
Thank you, Provost. In terms of other partners, my view at this stage, and this is certainly the position we've reached in our discussions with Clackmannanshire, is we need to be relatively open-minded at this stage. I mean, I think obviously, given the links we already have, we're interested in potentially working with Stirling Council, and we'll see what their response to that might be. But unofficially, we're having some quite positive discussions. But I think we need to be open to wider partnership than that, both in terms of other councils, because of the economies of scale that comes from bringing more councils together, but also potentially with other partners. So, for example, you'll note in the tranche 1 table, the asset strategy is mentioned, and we're already having some discussions with colleagues in health and Forth Valley College, police and fire, and other partners locally. And these have been ongoing for some time, just informally discussing how we can work better together, and sharing assets is potentially a positive vein in that regard. So I think we need to be quite open-minded. I think there's indications from some other councils that they already have an interest. I've had some informal approaches. But at this stage, I think we can say that some services lend themselves most to sharing on a geographical basis locally, and some it might be more possible to share on a wider basis, perhaps particularly back office. And members will note that the payroll and HR function is put in the Ones for Scotland category, which indicates that kind of possibility. In terms of how Tranche 1 was agreed upon, a series of discussions on the back of the PwC work involving directors and heads of service and service managers across different functions with their counterparts in Clackmannanshire, and a bit of negotiation about what should get over the line and what might be left for a future stage if we continue down this path.
Okay, thank you for that. My other two questions. The first one relates to the governance of any collaboration with other partners, and while that's likely to be challenging and complex, do we have examples of where it has been done successfully in other areas? And the other one is, how are we going to engage with the workforce through this, if agreed today, the next potential phase of work? Because I think there'll obviously be some anxieties within our workforce, and it's about maintaining an element of stability within councils and not scaring the horses at this stage, basically.
Thank you, Provost. I think the governance issue is a really important one, and is a challenging one. And the challenge, of course, is how do you maintain that local democratic accountability when you have shared services? Now, there are, I think, multiple examples of that. Certainly lots of examples south of the border, but in Scotland as well. For example, the Ayrshire Roads Alliance, where there's a joint committee between the two councils which were involved, is only two of the three Ayrshires. And that's not an uncommon way of managing such functions. And in a sense, Falkirk, because we have a growth deal that only applies to Falkirk, we're much less used to that sort of approach than most other councils, because up and down the country, growth deals tend to be, the decisions are made by joint committees. So this is something which is not at all uncommon, and there's various examples in Scotland. In terms of the workforce, in my view of this is we just need to be really open about this work. There's no advantage in being otherwise. We need regular briefings. We need to involve the teams in the discussions about the future of their services. That will involve both employees and, of course, their union representatives as well. Because I think that if we're going to come forward with business cases that are going to work and be effective, then that can really only be done with the engagement of employees and unions as part of that.
Thanks, Councillor Meikle-John. Thanks, Mr. Laurie. I'll now go to Councillor Hannah.
Thank you, Provost. I have a number of questions also. My first question is about why Clacks and why now? And we know that there have been issues about Clackmannanshire Council and they're working collaboratively with other authorities. There have been disputes. So I'm interested to know how we are going to avoid those kinds of difficulties.
In terms of why now, I suppose to address that first, as set out in the financial strategy in our target operating model, and indeed in terms of reports we've had back from auditors, our transformation has been very inwardly focused. We've done a lot of transformation in recent years. We've made substantial savings. Indeed, over the last 15 years, we've made over 100 million of savings. Not all transformational, but we have done that. And actually, it becomes more difficult over time. So with the budget gap of 43.9 million over the next 5 years, and even with when we factor in the savings we have, a budget gap in the region of 27 million, we clearly need to find other ways of helping us bridge that gap. And as members know, we have a relatively limited number of tools available to us. So it felt like us, and on the back of discussions taking place both nationally amongst councils in terms of how we move forward with collaborative working, it seemed a natural step forward on the basis of our relationship initially with both Clackmannanshire and Stirling, that we begin to work together to see what the potential might be in terms of collaborative working. Now, as it says in the report, and as I mentioned at the budget meeting back in March, Stirling took a step back from that initial phase, though the door is very much still open to them if they want to be part of that. So I suppose that's why it's ourselves and Clacks at this stage. But the proposals that we've set out, you'll note in terms of tranche 1, most of them we think need to be done on a broader basis than simply ourselves and Clackmannanshire. And that's why most of the proposals are in the regional or regional plus category. So we think we need a greater number of partners in order to make the kind of efficiencies and savings which are necessary for our financial sustainability. In terms of the background, Clacks, like a number of other councils, have had a mixed record in terms of collaborative working and shared services. So, for example, again, looking at the existing collaborative space, areas such as trading standards and environmental health are run successfully between Stirling and Clackmannanshire and have been for quite some time. Other areas are more difficult. How do you avoid these challenges? I suppose it's all about the process and the work you do to get there, the thoroughness of the business cases, the level of engagement, building support within the organisation, being very cognizant of what the challenges are in terms of finance or governance or other issues. So it's preparing the ground as thoroughly and as well as we possibly can. And I think what the funding award from the Scottish Government enables us to do is resource that in a way which maximises the chances of success.
Thank you. Since you finished on the question of the funding, I'll make that my next question. I mean, we've already spent some £250,000 on the PwC consultation report. How is that £2 million going to be used? Is it going to go to other large consultation organisations, or are we going to actually use our own staff who know what's going on locally?
Yeah, it's thank you, Provost. It's a good question. I think the answer is it will be a mixture of these things. We clearly need to use our internal expertise and knowledge about services. On the other hand, given the kind of work program we're looking at, we simply don't have and wouldn't have the capacity to run with a piece of transformational work like this on top of everything else that we're doing. So we will need to bring in support. The way that we're thinking about it at the moment is that support needs to be very focused on the specific services that we're looking at. So I would imagine it will be quite specialised support on a service-by-service basis. But until actually we begin to scope out the programme, analyse the resources we have to do the work, we won't know exactly. But I think it'll be a mixed economy approach in terms of how we support the work.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Meikle-John asked earlier on about involvement of the workforce. I'd like to kind of dig into that a bit further. because you've talked about briefings, you've talked about consultation. My view is that it is absolutely vital that our frontline staff are actively involved in the development of business case. Our frontline staff are the ones who know what will and will not work at a local level. So can you say a little more about how they will actively be engaged in this rather than simply told about it and kept informed?
Thank you. Well, I suppose that I'd go back to my answer to Councillor Meikle-John. I think if we're going to come up with realistic business cases which are of a quality and a depth which the council finds acceptable and can consider for approval, then it needs to take account of the workforce concerns and workforce issues, and that applies across both councils, obviously. So I think we just need to be very considerate about that. We need to be open to views and input. I don't think there's anything for us to hide here. And in fact, I think that one of the important issues in relation to workforce is that whilst by bringing together two or more different organisations, it potentially provides an opportunity to protect the front line to a greater extent than if we were simply taking forward transformation by ourselves. So for each of these pieces of work identified in the work programme, there's going to need to be, from the officers leading that, an approach which engages closely with workforce and involves them in it and enables them to inform the business cases that are brought forward.
Okay, thank you. Much has been said. You've talked quite a lot about the savings and the financial situation, and we're all well aware of the issue of financial sustainability and the financial problems that all councils have at the moment. But this direction of travel is only really going to be supported, I would have thought, if we can demonstrate that there are actually real benefits in terms of service delivery. I wonder if you could say a bit more about what actual advantages in terms of what the public might see as improved public service would be.
Thank you. The quality of service issue is a really important one. I think the potential advantages of bringing services together is about maximising resilience and capacity, ensuring we have the skills that we need across the partners. I think that issue about capacity and service quality is really important. It's about learning from good practice. There'll be some things that we're better at. There'll be some things that Client Manager or other partners might be better at. And so I think there's a whole series of ways. And I suppose it's also that simple fact that if through bringing together processes or technology or structures, we can actually help to preserve what we have at the front line, then that gives us the best chance of ensuring that the services to our communities are protected or indeed enhanced in terms of how we take things forward.
Thank you, and your indulgence, Provost. Just one final question. At what point and in what way are we going to engage with the electorate and engage in consultation with members of the public? Because clearly many members of our electorate will have views on this themselves, on what couldn't be used positively.
My judgment would be that would come in relation to service-specific proposals when we get to that point.
Thank you. Thank you, Provost.
Thanks, Councillor Hannah. Any other questions? I just have one question, and it's if this is agreed today, when would the first report be anticipated that would come back, and would that be reported to the council, or would it be briefing?
That's a difficult question, given that we're just at the very start of the process. What I would say is we'll have regular briefings and updates. I think that's important. We'll come back to council with any substantive decision. I would have hoped that we'd have something to report before the summer recess in 2026, so by June 2026. And in part because if we're going to bring forward proposals which have an impact on the 27-28 budget, there'll be no impact on the 26-27 budget, then really by then we need to be beginning to see how things shape up. But some of these bits of work might take quite a long time. Some might not prove fruitful. We may come back and say that certain elements of tranche one we don't intend to take forward. But I'd hope by June of next year we'd be able to come back and begin to have some positive proposals for the council to consider.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Lorry. If there's no Councillor Spears.
I think we should remember at this stage it's very exploratory, and until we hear what McMahon at their tandem meeting today have said, and then the consultation will get back to the people before we actually move forward with any of this.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Spears. If there's no other questions, I'll go to the administration to move their motion.
Thank you, Provost. And I hope my voice will last, as I've managed to catch the lurgy. So I'm hopefully not going to pass it on to anybody. Firstly, I want to just give my thanks to the officers of both Falkirk and Clackmannanshire Council, because there's been a huge amount of work going on behind the scenes to get to this point and bringing this report forward. And I think that in itself demonstrates that at an officer level that there is a willingness for collaboration. As we're all very acutely aware, local authorities, indeed the wider public sector, faces real financial challenges. Cost of delivering services continue to increase, and given the recent announcements, the fiscal challenges faced by governments look set to continue for the foreseeable future. It's important to ensure that our communities have access to high quality services that meet their needs now and are flexible enough to continue to meet the needs of the changing environment for the future. Crucially, it's sustainable enough that our communities can rely on them far and beyond the reach of this council. Our financial strategy has identified potential savings for this year, and while the current budget position is not yet entirely clear, we do have an opportunity to come to agreements locally to ensure we meet our own financial challenges and get to a sustainable position over the next 5 years, but that means that there's more work to do. What we cannot do is, however, to continue the historical salami slicing of services, as that does nothing to encourage healthy welfare or flourishing communities. There may be often a rush to judgment when proposals such as these are put forward, and the natural conclusion of this process will lead to jobs being cut. But I'm confident that this is not an exercise at cutting jobs. It's instead focusing on what must be and working collaboratively in ways that drives efficiencies, increase economies of scale, and enable sustainable, reliable services for our communities and the people within them. There are 3 parts to this programme, one being working with other partners, which may be not necessarily local authorities, but other opportunities, working in Forth Valley-wide, but also working as a Ones for Scotland. And we have a real opportunity to help shape that public sector reform and develop pathfinder projects that can help support others as the Ones for Scotland, with the funding that has already been given to us, 2 million from Scottish Government. It's a large piece of work, and I'm pleased that there appears to be political consensus across the chamber, as there's no amendment to move forward to the next stage. I'm also grateful for our colleagues in Clackmannan for their engagement in this process, and hope that colleagues in Stirling will soon be able to see how else we can collaborate across the Forth Valley, making this potentially much more sustainable. So, Provost, in conclusion, this is only the very beginning of a wide-ranging piece of work that will see us connected to our partners in Clackmannanshire initially. I'm confident we'll find areas of consensus where transformation is possible, and through this work drive forward to ensure the sustainability of services that our communities rely on now and in the future. Happy to move the report.
Thanks very much, Councillor Meikle-John. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Garner?
It's happy to second, which could be a very positive report going forward.
Okay, thanks very much. Is there no amendments? Can we agree with recommendations? Agree. Councillor Hannah?
Sorry, we have no amendments to this for very good reason. In principle, Falkirk Labour is very much in favour of working collaboratively, if I can just say it, with other partners. And so we welcome this report and welcome this opportunity to dig deeper into it. Our concern is that it should actually deliver better services and not poorer services. And I was pleased to hear Councillor Meikle-John saying this is not an exercise in cutting jobs, and I think that's important.
Thanks, Councillor Hannon. Apologies for not going to the group leaders. Bailey Kerr?
Thanks, Provost. The way we never put an amendment in because the way I looked at it, well, as a personal note, was we're asking people to bring reports back to see the viability and to work a way forward so that everybody benefits from the collaboration. So I'm hoping that when the next stage happens, we've got a bit more meat in the bone, and at that time I'm sure there'll be a lot more debate and discussion from elected members. But we welcome the report as it stands at the moment. Well, thanks, Provost.
Thanks, Bailey Kerr. Now go to Councillor Spears.
Thank you. We're very much at a wait, look and see position at the moment. I want to see how it benefits this council, how it improves the service. There's a lot of ponderables in here, so we need to see how the collaboration works and hear back, obviously, the Manager Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other independents have any comments? Councillor Murtagh.
Thanks, Provost, and I haven't got an amendment. I think it's a very positive direction and something which we should be exploring. I think we already work in many situations, whether it's through self-directed support, whether it's through SESTRAN, whether it's through all sorts of partnerships. And indeed, this week, as Councillor Devine mentioned, we had the launch of 16 Days of Activism, which we do jointly with all three councils, and it was great to see the Manager Council leader there. And again, I would echo what Councillor Devine said earlier in the asking everyone to engage with that process. It's something which collectively, it's not just a matter for three councils, but for everybody, but it's also for individuals. And I think just taking the opportunity to remind, especially the men in the room, that there is the White Ribbon Pledge, which is available for everybody to sign to never condone or commit or indeed turn a blind eye to violence against women. So I think that if we can work together on important issues such as that, and obviously having a ward in which I can basically walk to four council area within four council areas in one afternoon, should I be fit enough to do so. It's very clear to my constituents that we use many services across many different council areas, and it only makes sense to collaborate as best we can for the sake of efficiency, for the sake of being able to perhaps even provide more services where individual councils maybe can't provide something themselves. We can collaborate together to create more. So I think it's a very positive step and look forward to the following reports. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Murtagh. So can we agree with recommendations?
Agreed.
Okay. That's the end of this meeting. The next meeting is 11th of December at 10:15 a.m. and will be entertained by pupils from Grangemouth High School at 9:30 a.m. Thanks for your attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost.
Recorder.